Hello, I'm Deborah Pascali-Bonaro of Orgasmic Birth and here to help you positively prepare for birth and parenting. And I am so excited today because I have a really special guest, someone who means a lot to me, Renée Rodriguez and she'll tell you more.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to be here very long, so I better just relax and enjoy. So I went into my bath. Now I know I shouldn't have been in the bath because it accelerates birth, but I didn't know at the time. So I was there, and then my doula arrived, and I remember she asked, "How are you, Renée?" And I just said, "Have you seen the moonlight?" So she immediately noticed that I was already in my own trip. So she turned off the light, she put some candlelight, some aromatherapy, some music, and didn't put me into the stress. So I was there, I was in the shower, I was moving, and I was singing. Every time a contraction will come, I will just sing, ah. And I felt how the baby accommodate, and then my body asked me to go down again in the squatting position, and I just start breathing like very slowly, and I could feel my baby coming down. I could feel my body opening this arc of fire, and then my baby, when the baby was coming, my doctor asked my husband to catch him, so he catch him, and he had twice the cord around him, so she just took it off and immediately gave it to us.
What a beautiful story in every way. You're such a beautiful storyteller as well. So now let's take it deeper. So you've had one beautiful orgasmic birth. And now how many years was it to the next one?
3 years, 3 months after that one.
So take us 2 years, 3 months later. What is your second birth like and where are you?
So my second birth, we moved first to France. So my husband got a job and we moved to France, and now I left my job and I was in France already with my first baby. We were just 6 months in France, and I knew that that was the right moment to get pregnant again. I also decided very consciously where I want to have my birth. I went to the hospital and I went to midwives. And actually, I also think life takes you somewhere, because where I was living in France, I was living in Dunkirk, and I couldn't find a midwife that wanted to do home births. So I was really, really sad, because in France, because of the system, I will be just assigned to the doctor that will be there on my birth. And for me, that was already like a no-go. So life took me to a place where I could choose my provider. And we were living in the north of Belgium, that is very nearby the Netherlands. So they also have midwives that do home birth. Actually, one of them was Dutch. So I could find also this safe environment where there were prepared people to have home births. And I went to the hospital, and the treatment, I had to go to the hospital to do all the echoes and the prenatal exams, and the treatment was just so cold and always with fear. They found my baby might have whatever, and I was like 2 weeks. They put me into 2 weeks of stress, which I think also we women are the medicalized birth start with a medicalized pregnancy. You know, I was there and I knew my baby was fine, and I didn't understand why she was with so much putting me so much fear. And I felt she wanted to do that just because she believed that it was dangerous to have a baby at home. Anyway, finally, the day of the birth come. Actually, it was a coincidence that both births I had exactly on my due date. It was just a coincidence. I said that my baby was going to be born in the spring equinox. And I think also as a mother, we should not determine when our kids are going to be born. And I said, no, I know, I'm connected. I feel he was going to be born in the spring equinox. So indeed, the day of the 21st of March, the day of the equinox of the spring, my water broke at midnight, at 1 o'clock. But it was 1 o'clock. I felt like a little bit of water. So I went to the toilet, but I was still asleep. So I couldn't see if the water was there or not. It was strange. And I called my midwife and said, fine, as long as you don't have contractions, you go back and try to sleep. This time I knew how important it is to sleep before having a baby. So I tried to sleep. So I went to sleep, and again the next day we wake up, we went to walk in the woods. It was very nice. I was like really connected also with my son, like trying to say goodbye. We did a little ceremony of saying goodbye to the belly. And then the midwife came at 1 in the afternoon, so already 12 hours after my water broke. She didn't do a vaginal exam, which I also think is very good, and that is approach of a midwife. She just checked that my panty was indeed wet. She said, okay, your water broke. And then she told me, well, but the only thing is for home birth, we have to, if 24 hours have passed, we have to move to the hospital to get antibiotics. And when she put me a limit of time, I was very stressed. Like in my first birth, I didn't have a limit of time. Maybe the doctor mentioned it, but I didn't have. And this time that I knew that I didn't want to go to the hospital, and not in a hospital where I don't speak the language, where I don't feel connected, for the antibiotics. So I felt a bit that I was starting to push myself. So I said, okay, she told me if at 7 you don't start, we will see. So then I said to everybody, okay, at 5 o'clock, I said, I will be with my husband. So again, we connected very deeply. We start making love, and by making love again, I say connecting and caressing and having a fantastic clitoral orgasm. But this time was beautiful, was very nice, but I had in my mind that I had to do it a bit to induce labor. And I think that is a little problem that sometimes it happens, you know, when you are doing it because you are really letting you go like the first time, it's totally different when you are doing it because you think that's a way to induce labor. So I was too much in my mind, I was too much in the time. So I did start with contractions, and I went into the bath and I was dancing with my husband and I was doing all that. It was beautiful, but I was not letting go. I was too much like, I know how to do this, I know what I have to do, and I was too much in my mind. And I had a huge clock in my bedroom, and it was really, even in the video of my bird, you will hear it. You can hear the clock. And the contractions were just not starting. It was like I was not there. And suddenly it was 10 o'clock. My midwife, as from 7, she arrived. And I was just like, it's already time. And she was like, almost like, oh, no, you're still like, you still have way to go. So then I say, okay, can you touch me? Because I think there's something off. This is not going on. So then she made me a vaginal exam. It was my first vaginal exam that I had. I never had it before. Also in my first birth, I didn't have it. So I was also a bit like, oh, wow, this is not nice at all. And then she realized that the water was not broken, that it was only like I had a tear. So the water was indeed falling, but the baby was still protected. And I felt this because I was also touching him and I couldn't touch his head. So also I encourage women to do their own vaginal exams. We don't need someone else to come and touch us. We can tell. So I was touching, I was like, something is not, I'm not feeling the head. This is not the head. So when she told me like, okay, don't worry, your baby's still protected. We don't have to go to the hospital. You have time. You are already dilating. So enjoy the journey. That time I make a click. I say, please take this clock out of my sight and bring my husband. And then I connected. Then I was not thinking on the time but I was just letting me go. And I was just feeling my body, and my body started moving totally different. It was completely different than in my first birth. And I was feeling like, oh, maybe I'm pushing this. But no, it was just my body. And I started doing the cow cat position. And suddenly my water broke and super strong. And I could feel this. So when my water broke, I got boom in another dimension. It was so powerful, so beautiful. I was incredibly, and then I felt my baby coming out, and I felt my body opening with an incredible pleasure. I could feel all my body just like a light, a white light, and suddenly it came back, and I was shocked because I felt I was so high, literally so high, that I couldn't go back to that moment, and that maybe I couldn't birth my baby. So I was very scared. And I remember I looked into my midwife. Actually, first I had only one midwife. And when I was in this stage, the second one arrived. And this is also what I think is amazing about midwifery. They really read women. They can tell the stage you are. They don't have to touch you. They don't have to do any intervention. They just know. So my first midwife said, when it's time, the second one will come. So when I was in this trance and I turned and I saw the second one entering, I knew it was it. And I knew, again, I felt this security, you know, like, okay, I'm almost there, and this just peace and safety. So then I looked to my midwife and I said, like, what happened? And she told me, don't worry, you are doing perfectly. In the next contraction, it will come. So I remember my husband tried to touch me, and I said, no, don't touch me. Like, I needed to go back on me, you know, I didn't want anybody to touch me. I needed to get back that strength. And suddenly my body went back into this squatting position, and I really felt a force coming from the bottom of me, a white light coming all over my body, and my body opening with so much power. And I wouldn't say pleasure, but it was a beautiful sensation. And then the head of my baby went out, and I was also shocked because the first one went out like woof, like super fast, and this one was just the head. I was like, oh, now what happened? And she said, don't worry, the baby's starting. And I could see my baby turning, and then I felt again this beautiful sensation, and I knew it was time to push. With my first baby, I didn't even have to push. With this one, I felt I needed to push a little bit, but it was like very, it's funny because it was gentle but also powerful. And then he came out, and I could take it with my own hands, and that was amazing. And it was a huge baby. They told me it was 4 kilos. I think it was even bigger, you know. So a woman can perfectly birth a 4 kilos baby. I didn't even have a tear. It was like completely fine, and I felt wow, incredibly. We went again into the bed. They also let my baby crawl, very patient. We let him go out, and until he latched, and I felt again the contractions of my uterus. Until that time, we did the cut of the cord, so also letting time. And just to finish that, the next day, I was feeling incredibly so good that I even went to pick up my kids from school. And I remember the teacher asked me, it's already born. When he was born, it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I said, yeah, midnight. So imagine how good I was feeling. And the last thing I want to say is he was born at midnight and 11 minutes. So he was not born on the 21st of March as I wanted. He was born even 20 minutes later, but on the 22nd of March. And this kid, even till today, he always has teach me, Mommy, it's not your way when you want something like that with your mind. When you want it with your heart, it comes. But when it's your mind and your control, it's just don't. So kids are great teachers.
What incredible stories. Each of your births, right, taught so many lessons. You're moving all around the world in the middle of pregnancy. Oh my goodness, right? And each of your births took you deeper into knowing yourself and your body, and You're told some beautiful stories in our book, Sex After Baby. What would you say? How does having an orgasmic birth open you or impact you to embrace your sexuality after having a baby?
Well, the first thing is I saw my body with incredible admiration. You know, for me, it was like, wow, it was able to really create a baby and birth it and then nourish it. You know, I see also my breast, like I don't have big breasts, but when I was breastfeeding, yes, but I see it like I'm so grateful for them that I accepted the way they are. I don't need to have these huge things, you know, because I think they're just sacred and they give food for 5 years to my kids. So I really, that was the first thing that I connected to my body, seeing it as a really magical uh, place, you know. And then I feel hormonally something, I had a different connection. So also, of course, when you have a kid, you don't have the time that you had before. The weekends, you are not spending the week, no, the weekend completely in bed with your partner. You have to take care of the child. So we stopped having like so often relations to have much more deeper. So I tried that when we were there, we were connected and we were not persecuting a goal. We were not trying to just get pleasure or to just, you know, we were really connecting as me and him, as a, not as a mother, not as like me and him. And we started connecting. And this connection makes us so deep. And then we also learn of having these different types of orgasms that come from the emotional when you are feeling the soul of the other person. And that was beautiful. And of course, then he was not only my partner, he was the father of my kids. And I was the mother of his kids. And this connection makes it also beautiful. I must admit that when I was breastfeeding, I had my libido in the floor. And it was very, very, very hard for me to connect with my husband because I was breastfeeding. And I think that women and men have to be very patient in that phase because when we are breastfeeding, our hormones are differently. So we are with less libido. But after breastfeeding, I came back to my body and I started exploring because I felt that every time we were making love, there was a moment I felt uncomfort. And I said, no, I felt this uncomfort and I already have an orgasm, but now I don't want to go farther. And then I said, well, why did I just let it go, you know, and let it be? And then I learned how to ejaculate as a woman. And that took me to a completely different level of understanding my body and understanding my anatomy, you know. And then I said like, wow. And I thought that that was it, that was the moment when that was it. And I now understand that ejaculation is just the start. It's not the end. It's just the start. What really shocked me is that as society we don't even know our bodies. As women we don't even know how how we function, and in the books it's not there. So it's like incredible. So if it's not there and if we are not talking about all these functions of our organs, even in birth and after birth and in state, of course we are having so traumatic not only births, because I think if a traumatic birth come also from a traumatic sex life, you know, or for a repressed sex life, or for a not fulfilling sex life. So if we, before having kids and before we are not fulfilled in our sexuality and in our sexual life, then we will come to a birth where it's a reflection of our sexuality, and then we will be mothering with a reflection of that birth and that life before.
Yes. What important words, Renee. And for those that are listening that might be pregnant, what would be one tip you would give them on how could they prepare for an orgasmic birth?
should not think what you don't want. You know, sometimes we are, oh, I don't want pain, I don't want this, I don't. You have to think what you want. I was not in fear of the pain of birth. What I was focusing is in giving the best birth to my kids. So also in your pregnancy, don't think of all the things that can go wrong. Think of all the things that you can do for things to go right. And the first thing is connecting with yourself, with your body, and give to your body these moments of pleasure. Because only if you give these things, we need it biologically. We need the oxytocin and the endorphins flowing in our body, not only in birth, but when we are pregnant, because that's what our kids, our children need to develop as human beings. So give them hormones of love and hormones of connection.
Thank you so much, Renee. Oh my goodness, so much wisdom and juiciness and pleasure and connection and all that you shared. For those people that would like to find you, can you tell us your social media and your website? How can people connect with you?
Thank you so much, Deborah, for asking. Now I have a project that is called momfulness.life. So like mindfulness, but instead of mind, you put mom. So it's momfulness.life, and you can find us in Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, and also just in the web.
Ring the bell and subscribe for more orgasmic birth expert content. And if you're a birth practitioner, visit orgasmicbirth.com to learn about our special resources just for you, and follow us on Instagram at Orgasmic Birth.